Maximus!
Well, here's a little aviation story you may have missed. I know I did. According to a leaked memo, American Airlines will become the next major international carrier to fly Airbus's longest range single aisle plane on transatlantic routes. The airline has 50 Airbus A321XLR on order, and according to the memo sent to pilots in the last few days and leaked by aviation insider X John NYC on X, or Twitter, whatever they're calling it these days, the plane's primary mission will be flying transatlantic routes. So this anonymous aviation guy, John NYC, got this whole scandal rolling when he very publicly revealed the very private plans of American Airlines. You see, back in 2019, American Airlines placed an order for 50 Airbus A321XLRs, and American recently took delivery of its first XLR. But the plane went straight into storage as the seats aren't ready yet. So we knew Airbus had big plans for the 50 new XLRs, however, we just weren't sure exactly for what. But now apparently, thanks to Twitter John, the whole world knows. For years, American Airlines has been accused of under-delivering in New York. Meanwhile, Delta dominates the domestic side at LaGuardia, and JetBlue has carved out a loyal transcontinental following, and United has abandoned JFK altogether. However, across the Atlantic, America's partnership with British Airways helps its flag to keep flying. But the wide-body schedules out of JFK have often felt thin compared to its rivals. Well, now, according to the leaked memo, American Airlines is plotting a new strategy which will see John F. Kennedy International Airport become the first pilot base for the Airbus A321XLR, the extra long-range narrow body that promises to redraw the map of transatlantic flying. The leaked memo revealed by the American airline watcher John NYC on X shows that American plans to open a new international A320 family pilot base at New York's JFK, specifically for the A321XLR. Initial American plans to staff 40 positions growing through 2026 as more aircraft arrive and crews complete the cross-Atlantic to Europe qualifications. The memo frames JFK as the XLR's first home, with transatlantic flying expected to begin around March 2026. And aviation experts are expecting the XLR to perform a dual role. The XLR will likely fly premium U.S. transcontinental flights from places like JFK to LAX and San Francisco as early as the 2025 holidays, then be rotated onto JFK to Europe on the long and thin routes that don't justify a wide-body. American Airlines intends to create a special subfleet of pilots who will operate its A321XLRs on transatlantic flights based in the New York area. Initially, there will be around 40 pilots assigned to this subfleet, although the airline anticipates this number to grow throughout 2026. Although flying the XLR is very similar to flying any other A320 series of aircraft, pilots will require some classroom and simulator training for an Atlantic European qualification, which includes long-range international elements. According to the folks over at Paddle Your Own Canoe, PYOK, they summarize that while pilots will be based in New York, the A321XLRs could be used for transatlantic flights across the East Coast, including from Philadelphia and even Charlotte. The planes will be particularly useful in opening up new routes that might not necessarily have the demand for wide-body service, or extending currently served destinations that normally only have enough demand for a seasonal service. Still, PYOK says these aircraft will, however, likely serve destinations with lower demand, so don't expect the XLR to be flying between major hubs like New York and London or Paris Charles de Gaulle. The A321XLR could, however, easily replace the Boeing 787-8 Dreamliner on routes between pairs like Philadelphia to Naples, Philadelphia to Milan, Charlotte to Edinburgh, and Miami to Milan. American Airlines will launch a new, fully flat business class suite on its XLR, but the carrier has been forced to delay the introduction of the aircraft into service due to ongoing supply chain woes with these seats. As I mentioned earlier, American Airlines has already taken delivery of its first plane from Airbus, but it was put straight into storage while the Fort Worth-based carrier waits for the new suites to be completed. But the writers over at 1 Mile at a Time seem perplexed by this move, saying, what is a bit surprising is how soon American plans to start flying transatlantic with these planes. Keep in mind that American intends to use these 21XLRs to fly its premium transcontinental routes out of New York, replacing the specially configured A321Ts that have otherwise been dedicated to these routes for over a decade now. American has already started reconfiguring its A321Ts, with the plan being for them to get the standard domestic configuration. They assumed that American would first try to aggressively replace the A321Ts before flying these planes long haul, but perhaps that's not in the plan anymore, they say. Of course, the planes can also do a little of both and be cycled between transatlantic and transcontinental flying. Regardless, it sounds like these planes will be flying in around 6 months, that is, if all goes as planned. However, the folks over at Live and Let's Fly seem to see the possible roadblocks that lay ahead for American, saying, of course, the elephant in the room is Airbus. The European manufacturer has dealt with a string of certification and production challenges that have pushed back the A321XLR deliveries. For American to publish crew assignments tied to the jet, the airline must feel good about getting the aircraft in time for the busy travel season. That's a strong vote of confidence in Airbus and a signal that American is betting big on this narrow-body's long-range promise. For what it's worth, these deliveries were slated to begin in the coming weeks, so either American is being realistic that deliveries might take longer than expected, or it knows and has reason to believe it will have the aircraft it needs in time. It will also have to undergo domestic short-haul crew training before starting its long-haul slate. So their conclusion was that leaks don't always tell the whole story, but this one carries weight. The A321XLR could be a game-changer for American at JFK, opening doors to secondary transatlantic cities while trimming excess capacity where needed. If Airbus holds up its end, American might soon have a sharp new weapon for the competitive New York European market. So how about that? How many of you have heard this story yet? It kind of just popped up out of nowhere, and I thought I would share it with you. Well, that's all I have for now. As always, please be sure to share your thoughts down below and let me know what you think. And if you haven't yet, consider liking and subscribing. And until next time, as always, this is Maximus.